All right, let's talk about one of life's most fundamental and kind of wild processes, making more of itself. It's this epic battle, really, between making perfect copies and creating brand new remixes, all in the name of survival. So let's dive in.
Okay, so let's just start with the most basic question of all. Why do organisms even bother to reproduce? I mean, on the surface, the answer seems pretty obvious, right? To make more of yourself. But when you really dig into it from a biological standpoint, it's actually a bit of a head-scratcher.
And this is where it gets really weird. Think about it. Unlike breathing or eating or finding water, an individual organism doesn't actually need to reproduce to stay alive. In fact, it's a huge drain on energy and resources. So you gotta ask, why pour all that effort into something that, for you personally, isn't even necessary?
Well, here's the key. Reproduction isn't for the individual, it's for the species. It is the one and only way to make sure the group as a whole doesn't just vanish. And at its very core, the whole process is about one thing: making copies of the blueprint of life.
And that blueprint, of course, is DNA. Just picture it like the ultimate instruction manual, the complete recipe for every protein that makes an organism what it is. So when we talk about reproduction, the most basic fundamental event is just the creation of a DNA copy.
So if you've got a blueprint and you need another one, what's the simplest, most direct way to do it? You just make a copy, and that is asexual reproduction. It's basically life's original copy-paste function. One parent, one blueprint, and a direct, identical copy. Simple, clean, and super efficient.
And oh man, has life gotten creative with this. For a single-celled organism like an amoeba, it's often as simple as something called fission. The cell just gets bigger, duplicates its DNA, and then splits right down the middle. Bam! 2 identical daughter cells. Job done.
Now, for some simple multicellular life, like this Spirogyra you see here, it gets even cooler. The organism can literally just break apart into smaller fragments, and each one of those little pieces can then grow into a completely new, whole individual. How wild is that?
And then you've got this method called budding, which you can see in an organism like a hydra. A little outgrowth, a bud, just starts growing on the parent. It develops into a perfect little mini-me and then just pops right off to go live its own life. It's literally a clone growing off the side of the parent.
So the big takeaway from all these different methods is the result. The offspring are, for all intents and purposes, perfect genetic copies. They have all the same characteristics as the parent. You get a flawless copy every time. And that sounds like a great deal, doesn't it? So what could possibly go wrong?
Well, that's where we hit the big problem, the fatal flaw of being a perfect copy. You see, being identical is fantastic if you live in a world that is perfect and never, ever changes. But our world, it's anything but stable.
So, this becomes the crucial question. What happens to a whole population of identical clones when their perfectly comfortable world suddenly gets turned completely upside down? Okay, check this out. This illustrates the point perfectly. Imagine a pond full of bacteria when a sudden heat wave hits. If all the bacteria are identical clones, they're all equally bad at handling the heat. The whole population could get completely wiped out. Game over. But what if there's some variety in that population? If a few of them, just by pure chance, happen to be a little more heat resistant, well, they survive. And not only do they survive, they're the ones left to reproduce, passing on that survival trait. The species lives on.
And that right there is the bottom line. Variation is the insurance policy for a species. It's what gives a population the flexibility to adapt and survive in a world that's always throwing curveballs. A population of clones is just too fragile.
Okay, so if variation is so incredibly important, how does life speed up that process? Well, that's where sexual reproduction comes in. This is life's absolutely ingenious solution. Instead of just copying the blueprint, you start remixing it.
The concept is brilliant in its simplicity. You take the DNA from 2 different parents and you shuffle them together. This creates entirely new combinations of traits in the offspring, generating that crucial variation way, way faster than waiting for random copying errors. But, and this is a big but, this amazing solution creates a huge new mathematical problem.
Just look at the math here. If parent 1 contributes its full set of DNA and parent 2 also brings its full set to the table, well, 1 plus 1 equals 2. The offspring would end up with double the amount of DNA it's supposed to have, and that would be a complete biological disaster. So, how on earth did life solve this doubling problem?
The answer is just beautiful in its elegance. Life evolved these specialized cells called germ cells, or gametes. And here's the genius part.
They only carry half the normal amount of DNA. So now the math works perfectly. A half set from one parent plus a half set from the other parent equals one complete correct set for the offspring. Problem solved. So clever.
And as organisms got more and more complex, these gametes started to specialize. You ended up with two distinct types. The male gamete became small and motile. It's built for travel. The other, the female gamete, became large and stationary because it's packed with all the food and resources the new embryo needs to get started.
Okay, so let's zoom out and put this all together. The whole point of all this entire story, is about the survival of the species. And it's this constant dance, this incredible balancing act between two totally different strategies, making faithful copies and creating brand new remixes.
And this chart lays it out perfectly. On one side, you have asexual reproduction. Its goal is fidelity, making a perfect copy. The huge advantage? It's super fast and efficient, which is great when conditions are stable. On the other side, you have sexual reproduction. Its goal is variation, remixing the genetic code. And its key advantage? Adaptability. It's what allows a species to survive when the environment changes.
So really, when you think about it, reproduction is the bridge that connects a species' present to its future. It's this amazing process that makes sure the traits that work right now get passed on, while at the very same time, it's creating all the new possibilities needed to face whatever challenges come next.
And that just leaves you with this incredible thought, right? This process of copying and remixing, the very engine of evolution, is happening constantly, all around us, in every living thing, every single moment. It really makes you wonder, what amazing new variation will life come up with next?